So let's play a game of knock knock. Okay, see, wait, that's concrete. So let's try something a little bit better where they can hear us. Knock knock. Who's there? Your breakthrough. So open on up and get ready to receive. Let me know if you're receiving it, because it's right there on the other side of that door, but you got to open up first. My name is Brittany Green, and I am the CEO and founder of Crown Financials. I educate my students on how to increase their credit score anywhere from 50 to 300 points without having to use a credit repair company. Now, before I go into teaching any strategies and focusing on the process, I always go through the mindset development. Now, if they already have the mindset, boom, we just gonna keep building you up, right? But if you're so focused on the how and what didn't happen for me in the past and how nothing is ever going to work, we got to do a little bit of mindset shifting, right? Because I understand the financial journey can be an up and downhill battle because, again, life happens. So how can you position yourself to not focus on the how and the when, right? The WHEN, but to focus on the WINS, all the wins along the way, right? So I'll tell you a little bit about myself so that we're not total strangers. On July 1st of 2019, I was sitting in my sister's home. It was about 7:09 p.m. and my account was a negative $1,045 from a bad contract. I had, my car just got repossessed. Mind you, this was all a ripple effect from when I was let go of my position in 2018, November 6th to be exact. And I was just confused. I'm like, God, what are you doing with my life, right? I knew I had a purpose. I knew I had a calling. I was already, putting the building blocks towards my foundation together. But of course, sometimes when we feel like we've been buried, we're like, okay, God, you're just continuing to throw dirt on top of my situation, more dirt. And what we're not realizing is it needs a change of perspective, right? In those instances, we're actually being planted so that when we sprout out in a different way, right? But sometimes we got to clear out all of those old things that no longer serve us, right? So I was feeling a little displaced. I was feeling distracted. I was feeling blinded by my situation and what was going on, that it was so hard for me to see the other side. So as I'm sitting there, hungry, frustrated, angry, just feeling as if I don't know where my life is going. First, I lose my job. Next, I lose my car. I lose my stability. And it was all a test of faith to say, how much do you trust me? How much do you trust me? Because see, I've been telling you to leave that job or to leave that situation, but you didn't want to make that move, so I had to force you out. And now you have to feel this uncomfortability until we get to the next stages, until we get to the next steps. Now, there's a quote that I live by now, because see, back in the day, it wasn't hitting too home there, right? But there's a quote that I live by, and it's called the idle mind is the devil's playground. And I want to add to that, because so is the distracted, the blind, and the displaced mind. Because again, we're so focused on the how it's going to happen and the when it's going to happen that we lose, again, sight of the wins along the way. So I'm like, okay, I'm in this credit industry. I'm losing everything. My own credit score is taking a hit. How am I going to teach y'all about financial freedom? How am I going to teach y'all about credit and all these different things when I'm losing it myself? I felt like a fraud. How could I look myself in the mirror and say I am the credit expert when I'm suffering myself? But see, you got to understand that sometimes you're placed in that same situation that you're going to have to help people get out of. So I decided to take people along with my journey. Just like Les Brown said, you got to be hungry. I was hungry. In fact, I was starving. And if it's one thing you know about Brittany, I'm going to find a way to eat, right? So I say this to you to say, it doesn't matter how dark your life seems to be at this moment. You got to understand that that darkness is sometimes you being planted. The dirt that God keeps throwing on your life at that moment, it has a higher purpose because, see, your story and your breakthrough is going to help someone else who does not see a way out. So what I want you to do, and what we're going to learn about today in our 3 core takeaways, is through the ACE method of how to stop focusing on the how and the WHEN and how to focus on the WINS. I hope y'all got that, because I keep saying it because I really want to instill that in your mind, because we have to get in our head before anyone else does, before social media, before society, before the government, before moms, before pops, before the dog, before the baby daddies. We have to get in our mind before anyone else does, because remember what I told y'all before? The idle mind is the devil's playground, and so is a blind, distracted, and displaced mind. So I want you to say, you know what? I haven't been buried. God hasn't forgot about me. I've been planted. My seed is growing. My purpose is brewing. It is fostering. It is developing. I am in the transition. Because, see, when that breakthrough starts knocking and booming and bamming at your door, you have no choice but to open up. You have no choice but to open up. So the best way to do that is by our ACE method that I'm going to talk about. A, it stands for accept. Accept, acknowledge, and keep going. Okay? Because sometimes you got to understand, yeah, it may look a little dark right now. Right? It's a little dark. But I accept where I am on this journey. And I will start being grateful for all the things that are around me. Right? Because, see, when I didn't have my own, I could have been so focused on, I lost my car, I lost this, I did that, oh my God, how am I going to make it? How am I going to eat? Where am I going to sleep? Right? But I had to start being grateful and accepting the situation. I said, okay, I'm planted, I'm here. Right? I'm here. I accept it. I know that there's something that I'm supposed to learn on this journey in order to get to the next step. So I accept it, and I started being grateful. I'm thankful that I have family and friends that are surrounding me and helping me through this. I'm grateful and thankful for the trees outside. I mean, I was getting so grateful for the smallest things. I'm grateful that I have a pen that writes. Do you know how frustrating it is when you're trying to write something and that pen doesn't work? So I started to be grateful for the tiniest, the smallest, the itty bitty microest of things, because I knew if I had something to be grateful for, I'm focused more so towards those wins that are helping me get to the next level. Because, see, when I got a story to write, the worst thing that I would want is for a pen not to be working, right? So that's what I mean by being very grateful and just accepting where you are in this moment and knowing that dark times do not last always. Right? Because when we go to sleep at night, when the sun goes down at night, and it's just the moon, and we see the night sky, we know that tomorrow the sun is going to rise again. So it doesn't matter where you are in your story if you're planted, right? You know that the sun is going to shine, the nutrients, the resources, everything that you're going to need to make that sun shine again is going to be on its way to you. Now we move on to point number 2, which is C out of the ACE method, right? So we got A, accept and acknowledge. We got C, celebrate. Let me tell you something. I got to the point where I was celebrating failures because I knew that I found a way that didn't work, and it led me closer and closer and closer to what would work. Let me tell you something. There is no one, absolutely no one, that isn't successful that hasn't had to deal with some sort of failure. So learn to embrace and accept, right? Remember, accept where you are. Accept that you failed and celebrate that you failed. Yes, I failed. I did it. I failed. I found a way that didn't work. And by finding that way that didn't work, I discovered that there is a way and there's a path that is going to work as long as I stay diligent and committed to the process. So C, is celebrate and be committed to the process to know, again, that the sun is going to shine. And lastly, E, you got to execute the new strategy, right? So this is the point where, again, you've gotten into your mind and you've said, okay, you know what? I accept where I am. I've celebrated my losses. I'm committed to this process. Now it is time for me to execute a different solution. A different solution. And by executing that different solution, I'm going to either come upon another failure or I'm going to come upon my breakthrough. Either way, I'm celebrating in and through the process because, again, I know the sun is going to shine. So let me tell you something, because I want you to take this and I want you to start applying it because, see, knowledge is knowledge, but applied knowledge is what makes the difference. I want you to draft a notebook, something like this, a Word document, a Google document. It doesn't matter. But I want you to go month by month, and I want you to calculate and implement every single win. Put it in there. Every single win that you've had. I don't care how big or how small. Because, see, in 2019, when things were looking real cloudy, I needed to focus on those wins, those WINS, to keep me going. Because see, what you got to understand is every single win or every single thing that you do that feels like an accomplishment, it builds momentum for you to keep going. Because see, when your mind is distracted, when it's blind, when it's displaced, when it's idle, the devil can come in and play on anything that's going on in your life. That person doesn't love you. That job will never work out. Your project, you don't have the money for that. And you end up closing off your mind from allowing the resources to be attracted to you, allowing for the breakthrough to come to you because you get so played off of what won't work, what didn't work in the past, who betrayed you, who lied on you, who did all these different things to you that hurt you. And your hurt and your pain is valid. But why not use that to fuel you by focusing on the lessons that came out of that? Yeah, that person may not have loved me, but it taught me a lesson of self-love. It taught me a lesson of self-love for me to choose myself, right? Yeah, that opportunity didn't work out, but I learned that job or that opportunity didn't work out, but I learned some really, really good skills that now I can take on to the next place. I'm grateful for that time that I had with them. I'm grateful for that time I had in that opportunity. I don't know how it's going to work out, but I know that it's going to work out. You see how I began fueling my mind and focusing on my wins? And then by doing that, the psychological matter of it is that the resources and the tools, everything that you need to reach that breakthrough is going to gravitate itself to you like a magnet, okay? This is the force coming together in order for you to receive your breakthrough. And why? Because you made your mind a mental magnet towards positivity, towards the resources, towards the solutions. You focused on the wins, the lessons. You got out of that idle mindset. You got out of that displaced, distracted mindset that allowed you to focus and walk strongly towards your breakthrough. Because see, remember at night when it's dark outside and your eyes are closed because you're like, all right, I'm asleep. This is me sleep, y'all. Right? This is it. But then when the sun starts to rise, your pupils start to see a little light. And once you see a little bit of light, you start opening your eyes and you realize, oh my God, it's here. And just like that, you walk towards that light. So that's what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to make a win journal. That is my call to action for you guys. I want you to have your win journal. And I want you to keep it January, February, March, April, May, June, July. And calculate all wins that happen and update it daily, update it weekly. Right? Every time something happens, you run towards it and you write it out and you write it down. And whenever you're feeling a little down or feeling like what you're doing isn't working, you go back and you look at that win sheet and you see that, hey, the bricks are being planted. step by step, in order for me to get to my breakthrough. And remember the ACE method. Acknowledge and accept. Celebrate all failures. And execute a new plan that's going to bring you towards your breakthrough.